At that particular time, even when I eventually went back home, I genuinely felt like I didn't truly have a proper place there. Not really. Yeah. And actually, as it's written in this book as well, my wife had teamed up with our child to push me out. This is called the triangle relationship type, and that's what our marriage had become. Even now, I still can't forget it, but back then, I just wanted to be included in the family, to be part of them. I was really suffering, feeling pathetic and empty, and without thinking, I blurted out something. What I said was, let me be the third child too.
Yeah, that's right. Honestly, I had no idea. I didn't realize it was that serious, that it had gone that far. When I heard what Achan said, to be honest, I was shocked. At first, I thought, what are you talking about? But I was like, you're a man, aren't you? How pathetic. All I could do was criticize. I was like, I don't care anymore, whatever. At that time, I was living very independently. I was living with a lot of pride. After all, as a wife, I had been treated so poorly. It was honestly just so sad that I couldn't stand it. I had to be proud and strong, or I wouldn't have survived. So feelings of weakness just didn't exist within me at that time. Really. I had completely cut them off back then. Because I was like that when I first heard it, I thought, what are you talking about? Don't mess with me. That's exactly what came out of my mouth right away. But that pathetic request to treat him like the third child, somehow, well, It was slow, but little by little, it felt like ripples were gradually spreading through my heart. It really wasn't immediate, but eventually, after some thought, I clearly understood and thought, I see now. Oh, this particular person is indeed asking for some help. He's always so strong. Honestly, he can be such a pain as a husband, but somehow I realized he was saying he was sad. Oh, he's saying he feels lonely. At first, honestly, all I felt was, serves you right? But then gradually, when he said things like, could you treat me like your third child? That sadness really started to sink in. His true feelings really touched my heart. It was like medicine spreading through me. It really did take time, though. It didn't happen right away, but then it's like the fire that was burning inside me started to calm down a bit. And when I finally felt that calm for the first time, I thought, what am I really? It was really the first time I ever looked back at myself, or rather, really saw myself. That's how I felt. And because it was the first time, I think I was finally able to face the weakness inside me at that moment. What I realized was, oh, I'm seeking revenge, aren't I? Why exactly do I have to take such a terrible revenge on my own husband? And why do I truly feel like I absolutely have to get the children on my side? Am I really that incredibly weak? Why am I truly like this? What exactly is it that I simply cannot forgive? That really became a turning point, and from there I started to become aware of all sorts of feelings within myself. And I began to look at myself more closely. And little by little, really just a tiny bit at a time, I gradually became truly able to openly talk and communicate with my beloved husband.
Well, today, we'd like to explain the 3 secrets to creating a family full of laughter. Now, I'll explain using the slides.
Yes, family is a really important theme that we've been exploring. We met a global mentor and friends, and now we're in the midst of raising our 4 children. Through that experience, we'd like to share what we think is the secret to a family full of laughter.
So, the first secret is to change your place and the people you associate with. To create a family full of laughter, it's extremely important where you are and who you associate with. Why is that? Because we are greatly influenced by the people we are with. Simply put, to create a family full of laughter, you need to spend time with happy families, with families full of laughter. It becomes important to change the people you associate with to those kinds of people. And in terms of today's theme, this is true for people with partners, families, or spouses, but it's also very important for single people who want to meet a wonderful partner. It's about changing your place and the people you associate with. In my case, at a marriage agency, I went on 388 matchmaking dates over 3 years and still couldn't get married. After that, I quit the marriage agency after 3 years, but if I had continued my activities in the same place, I don't think I would have met Lily. I changed my environment, went to learn from people like John Gray San and others, and because I changed my place to where I was learning, I was able to meet Lily and remarry. So for those who want a partner but are having trouble meeting someone, I recommend changing your environment.
Yes, Actually, when my first daughter was born, I didn't want to talk to Luke, and there was a period of about a year where I turned my back on him. I just didn't feel like talking. And we were actually half separated, in a state of semi-separation, but at that time, a friend who truly values family said to me, "Hey, if you keep this up, you'll get a divorce. Is that really what you want?" They told me that bluntly. Thanks to that, I realized, oh right, I actually wanted to cherish this the most, but I was running away because of this vague frustration. Facing your partner is really difficult. It's not easy, but the fact that I was able to meet friends who truly value partnership and marriage was truly like a miracle. But I feel that a crisis turning into an opportunity depends on what kind of community you're in, and whether you can meet people who truly say that marriage is important. That's the turning point that decides your fate.
And Lily and I also fought and had a crisis in our relationship. So why has our happy couple and family relationship lasted for 17 years? It's because at that time, we had mentors and friends who helped us. And those mentors and friends were people who believed that the couple's relationship is important, that a happy family and a happy couple's relationship are important. They were in a community that supported that. If we hadn't had the community, I don't think our relationship would have lasted.
I've been truly, truly blessed. I've always lived with the desire to cherish my family. But it's with your spouse and family that your emotions come out the most, and that's what makes it so difficult. But I had mentors who taught me that that is the very foundation of life, and I was able to meet friends who valued it just as much. So the people we're meeting at this online summit, all of you, are truly important companions. I'd be so happy if we could connect with you from here on out.
So today's topic was about good marriages, wasn't it?
That's right. I almost wonder why they even invited us to talk about it. You see, for over 20 years, I actually suffered from depression. So, really, I have no idea why we're here.
Depression, what's that like?
Depression? Well, from my own personal experience, if I had to put it in a nutshell, I'd say it's when the only way you can affirm your own existence is by tormenting yourself. And while you're in it, the world outside of yourself, you can only see it as the enemy. You feel like you can't do anything, and you blame other people for it. I think that's what it's like. For me, my father was so strict. I couldn't even make eye contact with him. I really resented him, and I blamed everything on him. But in reality, even while I was blaming other people, the one who was tormenting me the most was myself. I have two daughters, and this was back when they were 2 and 7 years old. I told them, let's go to the amusement park tomorrow morning. The kids were so happy, They got their backpacks ready, put their shoes by the door. But the next morning, I couldn't get up, and from the front door, I could hear them crying. The sound got louder and louder, but then partway through it just stopped. I couldn't bring myself to go near them, so I just watched from a distance. And there, at the front door, they had cried themselves to sleep. At that moment, I felt like my identity as a father just shattered into pieces.
Yes, I remember that. That did happen. But it wasn't just once or twice, it was an everyday thing. That kind of stuff happened all the time. But, that's not what got to me. I was more shocked by something else entirely. And what was that, you ask? Well, I cherish our children, and of course, I never for a second doubted that Shinchan cherished them too. Then one day, he was lying down with his back to me, but his leg was shaking, so I knew, he's awake. So I said to him, I need to talk to you about the kids. And what do you think he did? He didn't answer. He didn't even turn around. He just kept shaking his leg. And I thought this was an important conversation for both of us, but even that was no good. I was just so shocked. But then, when dinner was ready, I called out, "Dinner's ready," like you do, right? And he just shut right up. And without even saying thanks for the meal, he just started scarfing it down and even started drinking. And when I saw that, I just thought, what is this? And I was just filled with rage. And that's how it was. I was feeling this sense of despair. But it was actually during that time that I encountered a certain way of thinking. And that was, the problem lies within you, and the power to solve it also lies within you. That was the idea. But the first time I heard that, the moment they said, the problem lies within you, a shutter just slammed shut in my mind.
like, whoa, it's not me. I just felt like, stop it. But it seems the shutter on my ears hadn't closed, because after that, when I heard, and the power to solve it also lies within you, I thought to myself, is there still something I can do? I was at my wit's end. I had tried everything to recover from my illness, thinking, what if I do this or that or try this? I had tried to change so many things, but I had come to believe it was impossible. Yeah, that there was nothing left to do. I was in despair, but when I realized there might still be something I could do, I clearly remember thinking, I don't care if I'm the one at fault. But that was my misunderstanding. It's not about saying someone is at fault or to blame. If you blame other people, you can't change them, so you become powerless. But the idea is that if it's about yourself, you can change it, you see? And so I guess I was just grasping at straws, but I adopted that way of thinking immediately.
The first one is, as Keiko said at the very beginning, to listen to the voice of your own heart. It's about not running away or deceiving yourself, or just thinking, yeah, well, this is just how it is, and bottling up your feelings. I think it's really important to stop doing that.
Yeah, I think humans are creatures that are really good at deceiving themselves. I really feel like that's what I was doing. I would tell myself with my head that I should be happy under certain conditions. But no matter how much you deceive yourself, your heart is always sending a sign, a small voice of unease. And I think it's so important not to miss that sign. That's what's important.
The second one, I keep communicating, overcoming fear. You might just stay quiet and think, my wife will get it telepathically, or my husband should just know. No, or maybe you think, if I say this, it'll just start a fight. But you have to get past that fear and just keep communicating. That's what's important. And the third one, this one really hit home for me. I think we mentioned it before. Your partner is a reflection of you. I used to say things like, it's their fault or it's your fault. But in the end, it was really about my own immaturity and how my partner was showing that to me. At the time, I couldn't see it at all. But I see now that my immaturity was being reflected back at me.
That's right. And a common pattern for us is we think, because my partner is acting this way, I'm being made to feel this way. Or we'd fall into victim mode right away. But we decided to adopt a new way of thinking, the I'm the cause theory. The idea is that your partner's attitude and actions are something you've created yourself. Your own way of being is what causes them to act that way. So we tried to start thinking like that.
We still fight a lot, but when one of us brings up the I'm the cause theory, it helps us calm down a little and think, oh, maybe it's me, or maybe it's me.
And when we made an effort to go back to that starting point, our future slowly started to change.
And as you do that, you realize that the vessel of love, what love nurtures is your capacity, and it slowly starts to get bigger.
The reason we clash isn't because our values are different. It's because our capacity to accept those differences just hasn't grown yet.
Right. And you want to run away from your own weakness, but by actually facing it, your capacity expands. At first, it might be the size of a little sake cup, but then it grows to a beer mug, and eventually it becomes a barrel. I hope it gets there anyway. How big is it now?
Now it's a teacup.
A teacup. I was hoping you'd say a barrel or something. Not yet.
Not yet. For example, the ability to imagine your partner's background, or the heart to choose love over being right. The courage to respond with understanding instead of reacting emotionally, and the grace to never hold back a small thank you. I think these are the kinds of things that we slowly nurtured during our time as a couple.
And from that kind of discussion, it leads me to, well, today I'll talk a little about business. But that capacity we developed as a couple, when I look back, I feel like it created a chain reaction that extended to my company as well. For example, I started to get a little better at seeing my employees' true feelings, or I became able to gradually share my own. Their frustration stopped feeling like someone else's problem. We spent more time in dialogue. And of course, I became able to entrust more to them, creating a sense of security where it's okay to make mistakes. I feel like the whole team changed completely because of it.
That's the result of not giving up on love, isn't it?
Yes, I think so. I'm not sure about the phrase not giving up on love, but if you truly don't give up on each other, then your life, your family, your company, and all the people around you, everyone you're involved with, I think they all start to change.
We will talk about the differences between common law marriage and legal marriage, their merits, demerits, and the mental differences.
Well, how should I put it? I've briefly summarized the differences between common law and legal marriage. On the left is common law marriage, and on the right is legal marriage. In a common law marriage, the family registers are separate, while in a legal marriage, the whole family is in one register. And in a common law marriage, there is one resident registration. As for the relationship, there are terms like head of household, husband, or wife, but the other person is listed as an unregistered wife or unregistered husband. For a legal marriage, if you live together, there's one resident registration. If you live separately, there might be two. Well, it depends on where the family members live, so it can be split into several, and the relationship is listed as husband or wife. And for a common law marriage, you must live together. If you don't live together, it's not recognized as a common law marriage. But for a legal marriage, living separately is okay. So how do you enter a common law marriage? You go to the municipal office and, declare that you want to be in a common law marriage, and the person at the counter will process it for you. So far, we've been talking about the procedural aspects, but now I'll talk about how my mentality changed. To be honest, I also thought it was just about submitting a single piece of paper. But a few days after we registered our marriage, I suddenly thought, I feel happy. It was like my happiness level had gone up, and I wondered what it was. And I wondered why that was. I thought about it again, and the reason I came up with is what I've written here. You see, a common law marriage is, in a way, based on mutual agreement, so everything is 50-50, 50-50. So, of course, you're together by mutual agreement. But if you want to separate, you can do it in a snap, I guess you could say. There's a lot of freedom, and that is a good thing, but on the other hand, in terms of stability, it's a bit weak, And that brings me to the second point, the sense of stability. With a legal marriage, once you're registered, the basic premise is that it will continue. Society and everything else operates on that assumption. Of course, if you want to separate, you can. But you can't separate without making a real effort. So, because the premise is that it will continue, how should I put it? When it comes to continuing the relationship, there's a great sense of stability. That's why, how should I say it? No, it's not about sudden changes or anything like that. The fact that it's stable based on the premise that it will basically continue, that's something, well, maybe it's because I'm a woman, but I found that to be very reassuring. So about the next two things, so I really struggled with partnerships. So I studied a lot about them, Why didn't things work out for me? And how can you get a man's love? How can you make it last? And things like that. Well, I did a lot of research on that. And at that time, what I really understood was that men, well, the woman they want to make their wife, they marry her because they want to be with her forever and protect her, And because they want to do that forever, that's why they get married. So naturally, they wouldn't think of marrying a woman who isn't like that, right? And for women, when they're like, I love him, they want to get married. It's like pretty simple. But for men, it's not just about that. Can I be with this person and protect them for my whole life? It's that kind of responsibility, I guess. So, well, when you get married, you might have children, right? So they think about whether they can protect the whole family, including the children. That's why they get married. That's what I, learned, And when I heard that, I thought, wow, men are amazing, They think about all that. They think that far ahead. They think, can I love this person completely? And then they decide to get married, They think, let's do it. And then they say, let's get married, right? So when you think about that, men are amazing. Like, just from that alone, how should I put it? You can really feel a man's love. So at least at that moment, when they decide to get married, a man's, what is it? It's like the peak intensity of his love. I thought, wow, that's incredible, So that's why I see. You have to cherish it and not forget it, Yes. So because of that, my level of happiness went up a lot. Yes.
Our theme for today is a yin-yang partnership, living happily even with opposite personalities.
That's right.
Yin and yang, you know. Actually, we don't have fixed yin and yang roles. Our way of thinking is that the two of us are one unit, or rather, we think of ourselves as a team. So there are times when Sunny is the yang, and there are also times when I step up and take the yang role. That's how we operate. For example, with the books you see up there, when we're writing or speaking, the person who is speaking is the yang and is out in front. The other person is supporting from behind, that's the feeling. So when I wrote my book, you know, she would read it and check it for me. And when Sunny publishes a book, we consult with each other, and I check the manuscript and so on. That's the kind of thing we do, so the two of us form a team, and we want to work together to create something even better. So we're partners and also business partners, something like that, you know.
Something like life partners.
Life partners and business partners, I guess you could say. And this is actually quite a high level of difficulty, so we face various challenges, you know.
A lot of things happen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Things happen.
Yeah, but because there are challenges, the potential for growth is also, well, bigger, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
What I mean is, for example, in places Sunny wouldn't normally go, I can, you know, meet people and connect them to opportunities for Sunny. And through the people that Sunny has met, well, that has created opportunities where I've been helped a great deal at times. Things like that happen, you see, so we are loosely heading in the same direction. Sharing a common purpose, and I think it's good to do that while making the most of each other's special skills. That's how I see it, right?
Yes.
So, for example, let's talk about hotels overseas.
The hotel story.
The hotel.
We sometimes, you know, go overseas and...
It's a small pleasure of ours.
Yeah, for workations or for work, you know, we go.
And quite often, just for those times, we stay in a really nice hotel, you know.
Well, there are times like that.
Well, at those times, yeah, at that time, it's a nice hotel, but there's a little trick to it. Yes, go ahead.
No, you know, even if we say it's a really nice hotel, you know, within that hotel, we actually book the most standard room. You know, just the regular room.
So first we book the standard room. It's a nice hotel, but we book the standard room. Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, at that particular time, you know, if I try to negotiate just a little bit, even just a little, they will often, more often than not, give us a really nice upgrade.
That happened a lot last time, didn't it?
Yes. So I'm actually pretty good at that sort of thing.
See, I don't do that. My English is better than Sunny's, but I don't do that. You know, if they upgrade us, I'd say thank you. If not, I'd just think, oh well. But thanks to Sunny, you know, she has this amazing negotiating power, even if they don't understand her.
Things like that, and also with friends from overseas, you know, various, how should I say it, we become friends right away.
Yeah, that's amazing. You become friends so quickly.
Yes, like with home visits, in many different countries, they've really taken care of me. Yeah. I'm actually quite good at that sort of thing, but when it comes to numbers, you know, or directions.
That's scary.
Yeah, and I can't read maps, you know.
You can't rely on Sunny for space and time. That too, you know. Yeah. I mean, for cooking delicious, easy, healthy food, she's a genius, but for anything else, well, it can't be helped.
That's right.
So, well, I'm the type who tends to think about things too seriously. She's so cheerful like this, you know. The other day, something a bit serious happened, but she tries to stay cheerful and keep going, and that's something I find really amazing. We're able to get by while making the most of what we have, and you know, in that way, you know, it's really each other's. Positions, we've become two sides of the same coin, and as we do, we go, it opens up the possibility of going in the direction we want to go together, you know, when there are two of us. Yeah. And we're heading towards that together. I guess that's what we're doing, and that's kind of our current situation, isn't it?
There's an episode that we called a gift incident. This episode became the first major challenge in our married life. The incident was sparked when Akin took some sweets Mari, had received from an acquaintance and gave them as a gift to someone else without consulting me. This event revealed the problems lurking in our relationship. This gift incident caused my Mari's anger to explode. I really cherished the sentiment behind the gift I received from my acquaintance. However, I was deeply saddened that the gift was given away to someone else without any consultation with me. I also believe that a gift for someone important is something I want to choose myself, with my own feelings.
Yes. Akin thought that since Mari was on a dietary restriction, she probably wouldn't eat the sweets. In my family, it was just normal to pass on things that we thought we didn't need to other people. So I used the gift thinking I was doing a good thing. And this misunderstanding caused Mari's emotions to explode. The important thing is that neither of us had any ill intent. We were both acting out of consideration for the other person, but the way we expressed it was misaligned.
My emotional outburst triggered Akin's past wounds, causing them to reopen. From a past experience, Akin finds women who explode with anger difficult, and he became scared and shut his heart. Furthermore, because I had made Akin feel negative, my own past wounds also opened up, and the strong feeling that I must not make people feel negative welled up inside me. When this situation continued, the emotions we each held became intricately tangled, and it became difficult to communicate.
The very beginning of this crisis was that we were both trying to be good people. When you try to be a good person, you end up holding back or putting up with things with your partner. We tend to get caught up in thoughts like I shouldn't hurt my partner, or if I make them feel bad, they'll hate me. This makes it difficult to be our natural selves. But actually, this is where the crisis begins. This is because a relationship of holding back and endurance is a state where you can't trust your partner and can't openly accept their love. Akin, at that time, consulted with a trusted mentor and friends of 10 years. After receiving their advice, I realized that the current situation wasn't just a crisis, but a step up toward building a better relationship. This incident was the moment I realized just how useful the things I had learned up to that point could be.
Based on the advice Akin received from his mentor and friends, we stopped blaming each other and tried to communicate our own pain. Mari clearly communicated to Akin why his actions hurt me and how I was feeling at that moment. Through this, Akin was able to understand the reason why I was angry.
Akin talked to Mari about my fear of being yelled at by women. I honestly told her that this stemmed from my childhood experiences. In this way, it's possible to turn a crisis into an opportunity. Sharing can be an opportunity to deepen your bond with your partner.
A crisis is not a sign of breaking apart, but rather a sign of the relationship deepening. Every couple has crises, but what's important is how you overcome them. The important point is to communicate actively without holding back or being reserved. We make time for tea, even if it's just for 10 minutes on our days off, or we set aside time to go for a walk together. And let's value honesty more than being right. Speaking naturally and from the heart creates a deeper understanding and bond. In this way, we aim to be an honest couple rather than a good couple.
We used to hold back and endure things, but when we stopped and shared our true feelings and pain, we felt a new kind of comfort, and our hearts grew even closer. From now on, while being considerate of each other, we want to cherish a relationship where we can support each other, even if we sometimes get into arguments.
So for me, when I returned to Osaka, around that time, I started to get into the seminar business. I invited all sorts of famous people to Osaka and held many large lectures and things like that. And then there was the landlord business. I owned a few apartment buildings and I was managing them. It was a time when many things were developing and expanding outwards.
On the other hand, for me, we had 3 children, and our youngest, our 3rd child, was just 6 months old when we moved back to Osaka. So there was raising the children, childcare, and living with my mother and nursing my mother. All of these things just kept piling up more and more, so I got to a point where I couldn't go outside, and I ended up just staying cooped up at home. So then, what happened was, I had no friends, I had nothing, and in that situation, I increasingly had no choice but to just face myself. That was the state I was in.
Right. And so, what I was thinking at that time was, well, there was a kind of promise from my childhood, a promise with my parents, that when I turned 40, I had to come back home. You see, they were landlords, so I was the heir. I'm the eldest son, and the eldest son of the main family, so, well. It's not that I had no say in the matter, but since I was a child, it was like, you can do as you please until you're 40. When you turn 40, come back. And so, returning to Osaka to take over the family home was completely natural. I'd been told that since I was a child, so I really thought it was just a matter of course.
And for me, I thought that so my partner could work outside without any worries. I had to take care of everything at home.
Right. For me, returning home was just a matter of course, completely and totally normal, so I was just living my life as usual. And, well, I was living freely. And my mother had her sleeping area on the first floor, and we lived on the second floor, but you know, Maya felt like she couldn't even make a sound that would disturb her downstairs. And so, it got to the point where Maya, you know, felt like her only companion was the person in the mirror. That's the kind of feeling it was, that's how things became.
I was born and raised in Wakayama, so all my friends were there. When I moved to Osaka, I had no one. In that situation, every morning I faced the mirror, encouraged myself, and talked to myself. That happened every day.
So that's when I finally noticed that Maya had been down for a long time. It took me a while to notice. I really didn't. To me, it just felt like that was all normal, just the way things were. And so that's how it was. But then one day, I began to realize she was
depressed. I started to feel depressed, and there were times when I would just sit in the corner of the room, hugging my knees. So at that point, I thought if things continued this way, I would get sick. So I made a big decision. Our family of 5 decided to leave my parents' home and move to northern Osaka. And where we moved, Masaki and Kei-chan, who were on stage earlier, was nearby. I was able to laugh again for the first time in a long time. So I truly realized at that moment how important it is to have friends nearby who have studied the same things. I really felt that.
Actually, you know, for a landowner's family to return home once and then decide to leave again, that's quite a very difficult thing to do, but it was so. Great that we came here, wasn't it?
Right.
So all of that, well, the anger from my 20s, the anger from my 30s, and the anger from my 40s all came together. During the pandemic, we had a lot of time. We had unlimited time. And all other activities stopped. So the pandemic became a time to face things. We spent 3 years just facing them, didn't we?
And as a result of confronting the anger and emotions from the past that I had just left as they were, I realized that values and concepts are very important.
Yes. So 3 things we value after letting go of our values and concepts. At that time, in that way, well.
Through our discussions, we decided to communicate honestly without fear.
Being honest is so important, isn't it? It's very important to truly convey your real feelings.
And second, to understand our different values. Even if we're looking at the same thing, what we feel is different, so we need to properly understand each other.
And then, deepen our bond with time for reflection. Well, during the pandemic, you know, we were able to look back. From the past, Maya has an amazing memory, so she remembers everything. This is what happened then, that's what happened at that time. We were able to review it all. Yes.
So we let go of those values and concepts, and now we communicate based on these 3 principles. Our relationship as a couple has improved, and I thought I'd never travel again, but now, we travel all over the country for lunch meetings.
At first I said, as long as my husband can do what he likes, I'm satisfied. That's what I said. Then Ken-san, with some really harsh words, and it was the first time we'd met. The very first time, he used these incredibly harsh words, saying, "You're not being supportive at all, He said that to me in the hotel lounge, and it was honestly like I'd been hit over the head with a frying pan, bam, and I was seeing stars. And at that moment, it hit me. I want to support Taka. I want to become independent and, work together with Taka. I said something like that. It just came out, I said it with incredible passion. But why couldn't I say that for so long? When it was just the two of us, Taka and I, why couldn't I say anything like that? Well, the reason was...
It was Taka.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
When the two of us, were working together.
Going back a bit, when we first started working together.
It was really...
Right. Yeah, that's right.
He hated it. Because of conversations about staff and things, it was all work talk, even at home, and that was really, really stressful for him.
After work, when I'd finally get home and want to switch off, we'd end up fighting or arguing again about one of the staff members, right? And I, in a pretty strong tone. I probably said something like, "It's absolutely better if we don't work together, in a pretty strong tone." And that, at the time, probably really stung her.
I thought, I can't step forward anymore. I have to devote myself to being a good wife, So I decided to accept everything my husband did. I switched gears right there. My role as a mother, my role as a wife. I decided to devote myself to that, but thanks to Ken-sen hitting me with that frying pan, I was able to blurt out my true feelings, or rather, I just said it in the heat of the moment. I was able to convey it. And from that, the energy suddenly started to move.
Oh yes.
And the talk of going independent suddenly.
That's right.
Move forward.
Roles, right. The theme of this talk is roles, and I thought that's all they were, and I thought that was fine, but... Then Chika-san said she wanted to do it together, and I'd never heard that before, so I was like, what? Let's do it together. And what had been stopping her was that one stinging thing I said. I didn't even know how much it had stung her, or that it had made us a unit of two. So right then, it was like, okay, let's do this, and so to our mentor. When it was really time to go independent, I was going to say that I wanted to go independent myself. If we hadn't been able to have this kind of conversation for the two of us through Ken-san, I probably would have only been able to say that I wanted to go independent myself, but... This time, Chika-chan and I talked about a lot of things, and I told our mentor, she said she wants to start a business, to work together as a team of two. Then my mentor said, it's great that you two were first able to talk about that kind of thing. And when he asked, so, can you move forward with a clear head now? And I said yes, he said, okay, then I'll support you. For a long time, I just couldn't bring myself to say it.
It was something that took so much resolve. You had to be determined.
Yeah, not many people talk about this,
Right.
I'm talking about it here.
You said it.
A week before I went independent for the first time in my life.
Blood in your urine.
I had blood in my urine.
But the moment I heard that...
Sorry for those who are eating.
Sorry to those people.
I'm sorry.
Well, anyway.
But really, it wasn't physically hard or painful, and it kept happening right up until the day I said I was going independent, but after I said it, it just stopped completely. I really felt that it was energy that had been charging up and accumulating inside me for a very long time. And so, I actually started to move toward going independent, and the stagnation in our partnership that we hadn't even noticed started to move all at once.
Indeed.
That was, well, coincidentally this month we're celebrating our 13th anniversary, so it's been 13 years since then. And really, I'm sorry, I know time is passing.
That's right.
And now, after 13 years, to have come this far, in this way, in a place like this, to be able to share our story. I'm grateful.
Something we're mindful of is having trustworthy friends and companions. When there's something we can't resolve on our own, we have friends we can ask for support,
friends, we can say, we need your help too. That really is the most important thing.
That's right. I'm sure if it were just the two of us, I wouldn't have noticed it myself.
And I don't think we would be who we are today.
We were really stuck in that for a long time, and in our case, we made sure that the thought of divorce would never cross our minds, or rather, we felt that if that word ever came up, it would be the end. And with that mindset, we built our relationship.
Yes.
Right. And so, even when we fought, they would turn into these strange fights, always.
It's like in the end, we couldn't say anything we wanted to say.
Right.
Kay would be all fuming, and I would get depressed. Well, there was the opposite pattern too, but it felt like we could never say what we really wanted to say, and somehow, our fights would just end with time passing by.
That's right. So in the end, we felt that if we said, I don't care anymore, let's get a divorce, it would be all over. So we had these fights where we decided we would absolutely never say that. But then, at one point, I thought, oh, that's not right. And so, I talked to Satoka. I told her that, actually, as long as we fight while taking divorce off the table, we can't really talk honestly. That's something, everyone was saying, our mentor, Ken Honda, even in our relationship with him, we both realized, oh, this is something we absolutely can't avoid. And so, I thought that maybe, as a result of a serious discussion, we might go our separate ways, and unless we included that possibility, we couldn't have a real conversation. From the time I said that, I think our relationship changed dramatically. What do you think?
That's right. When I first heard that, I thought, oh, finally, how should I put it? The forbidden word has been spoken. For me, the word divorce had such a huge meaning, but strangely enough, once I said it out loud, I felt relieved. So the idea of a word you should never say was just it wasn't a misunderstanding, but it was just a burden. When we removed it, we could really say, no, this is what I thought. This is how it is, right? And for me, divorce was equivalent to, like a mistake. That's what I think I thought. But thinking about it now, that's not the case at all. After removing that, we were finally able to have proper discussions. Even now, I remember it as a very strange experience.
That's right. So, after we started being able to have those kinds of discussions, the next thing that came up was Satoka saying that, she was losing to me. She said that word, and I'd say, no, that's not true, and we'd have that conversation. I'd say, no, I really, I respect you, and things like that at times, but regarding her saying she was losing, I thought I shouldn't say it, but I said, you're right, that's true. The moment I said that and admitted it, we both just broke down crying. I lived to see her smile, so I absolutely hated the thought of making her feel like she was losing. But after I talked about how I was winning, what came next was the realization, oh, we just have different roles. And that's when we were able to have a truly meaningful conversation. Well, Satoka focused on housework and childcare, and then I would go out, work, and earn money, be the main provider. And regarding that, I realized, oh, it just so happens that our roles are different, and that's all. A moment ago, I talked about winning and losing, but once we acknowledged that, we became able to recognize that we were truly and simply dividing our roles. So, what I did by going out to work, and what Satoka did at home, doing various chores. At the time, our daughter was little and mischievous, so she was running around, but we both acknowledged the hard work she was putting in. I felt we became able to truly appreciate each other from the bottom of our hearts. And I feel it became a current that led directly to co-creation. So really, while keeping divorce as one of our options, in the year that we began to respect each other's roles, our income nearly doubled. Yes, that's right. This was because, until then, I had been earning as much as I could on my own, right up to my limit, thinking I couldn't earn any more, But when Satoka realized, oh, it's just that our roles are different, and the money that happens to come through him is money from our co-creation. Our income suddenly so much increased.